So was Sasha Banks and Naomi right to walk out of WWE Raw? Unhappy with creative plans for last night's show, Sasha Banks decided it's boss time and met with Vince McMahon to express frustrations. A short time and some raised voices later, Sasha Banks and Naomi left their women's tag team titles with Talent Relations and left the arena. Now, looking at this as a moment in time, was the by Felicia approach to conflict resolution the correct solution? I'm seeing a lot from both sides here. Many saying that for Sasha in particular, creative has been bad, as for Naomi as well, and this was the right thing to do to make a true point. Others saying that this is too common an occurrence, and this should be the time that WWE says, no more, thank you, and good night. However, there's a lot to consider, because this wasn't just this isn't as cut and dry as simply not being happy with plans for a main event of a Raw. Numerous sources like Fightful and PW Insider, as well as insight from one of Naomi's close friends, suggests that this really was a tinderbox of a situation that was more than just last night. Sources have cited that Sasha Banks in particular has been unhappy with creative direction for some time now. Banks and Naomi were looking to square go with the Scottish contingent of Nikki ASH and Doudrop over the women's tag titles. But those plans were seemingly shot down, and the tag champions were on course instead to lose to Bianca Belair and Ronda Rousey respectively in singles matches. This comes after promises were made of stronger focus on the women's tag team championships, a set of belts suffering from a severe lack of intention since their inception. So, with these frustrations already in the atmosphere, and according to WrestleVotes, a palpable tension in the air yesterday, Sparks set the tinderbox off, and, well, here we are. WWE certainly don't want Sasha and Naomi to be seen as doing the right thing by walking out. In fact, they very much put the full onus of this awful situation onto the tag team champs for what went down, and did so in uncharacteristically curtain-pulling fashion. You see, as well as references throughout the night to how the champs had left early, WWE's official statement paints Sasha and Naomi as unreasonable and unwilling, referencing how they had all day to rehearse with their opponents, saying that neither had fulfilled their contractual obligations on a scripted television show. It's a statement that brims with knee-jerk frustration. If it was written on paper, you'd imagine several pencils being smashed into it as they were trying to write it. Now, many are saying that all of this is too obvious to be for real. It's a bit too out there to be a shoot. But it's not the first time that a shoot has come to the fore, is it? You see, the last time I can recall WWE reacting to such a situation was in 2002. Steve Austin turning up to Raw, and when he found out with no build he'd be losing to Brock Lesnar in a King of the Ring qualifier, he walked. He left. And he left Vince McMahon to head out to the ring on Monday night and utter the immortal line, Steve Austin took his ball and went home. Ironically, an event that occurred almost 20 years ago to the day. Now, like with Banks and Naomi, all the blame was placed firmly at Steve Austin, with WWE controlling every bit of the narrative then, as they are now. This isn't a standalone incident of lamentable loggerheads between WWE and Sasha Banks, though, which may go a little way to explain why WWE reacted the way they did. In 2019, Banks took a 4-month hiatus from the company, with speculation that she was unhappy with what WWE had planned for her and Bayley. You may remember the stories doing the rounds about Sasha Banks demonstrating petulant behavior backstage at WrestleMania. Sasha opened up about mental health issues after this, that she was suffering around that time, with Vince McMahon granting her time off when she asked for her release. The boss was ready to say bye until the boss said take 5, essentially. The two parties patched things up, so it seems. Then, last year at SummerSlam, Sasha Banks was pulled from her very high-profile WrestleMania rematch with Bianca Belair due to unforeseen circumstances, throwing WWE's plans out completely and leading Becky Lynch returning earlier than expected to breach the gap in the show left by the boss. Now, what about Naomi in all of this? There's certainly been more than a few incidents where she could claim to have legitimate beef with WWE booking. There's been numerous occasions over the years where we've seen Naomi as a can't-miss top star, and WWE seems to have been half-hearted and sometimes half-witted in getting behind that. Recently, her husband Jimmy Uso has said that it's very likely that Naomi would end up as part of the Bloodline on SmackDown, which would almost certainly call time on Boss and Glow's days as doubles. Now, I do feel that a lot of this walkout, whilst guided by Sasha Banks, certainly was appreciated by Naomi. You know, they both have issues with creative that I'm sure had wound them up to that point. But were they right to do it? Is this two employees bravely voting with their feet as a last resort, or is it unprofessional workplace conduct? Now, I initially leaned into the latter. You may be on your way to work watching this. You may be at work now. Imagine just deciding you don't like what's down for you that day and deciding to tell the boss to take his job and shove it. It's quite romantic, that, isn't it? It's something that I think quite a few people have fantasized about doing. Not me, obviously. Now, why should a WWE job be any different to a regular job? So if you were to do that at your job, you wouldn't be allowed back in the building. You'd have your key cards disabled before you knew it. So why would this job be any different? Piecing together what we know, Sasha Banks and Naomi certainly tried to find common ground with WWE yesterday, having multiple meetings and suggesting other ways that they could get from A to B creatively. When they exhausted those efforts, and at least one producer, who according to a source walked away screaming at one point, they simply checked out of the place. This is after a litany of other foibles and squabbles over similar things. This has been building and building and building. Weirdly, whilst I initially thought that they were in the wrong for walking out, I'm leaning the other way now. I think actually this may lead to a happier conclusion for many involved. Now, Sasha Banks, despite how excellent she is in the ring, has been keen to pursue other non-wrestling endeavours, such as acting and things like that. And at least on one occasion, the last couple of years, she has said, I'd quite like to leave now, literally asking Vince McMahon for her release. Weirdly, if WWE finally go, this is the last straw, and say, Sasha Banks, fine, you've gone, then we'll accept that, we'll shut the door on your way out, it might be the best thing that ever came along for Sasha Banks. It might be the best thing that ever happens to her, because it might allow her to head away and pursue those non-wrestling endeavors at last. For Naomi, I don't think this is the end of Naomi in particular in WWE. I can very much see an olive branch being presented to Trinity Fatu. Her connection to the biggest, most powerful star in WWE right now, and the recent offer of a potential place in a certain SmackDown clique would certainly lead to maybe Naomi making a comeback after this. But for WWE, weirdly, I feel like it's right for them to go at this point as well, right to let them go if they want to go. Whilst it does paint a bit of a precedent of wrestlers who are unhappy being able to simply take their ball and go at a time, and this is a weird statement to make, at a time where WWE are looking to shave the bottom line and cut out some of those big money contracts. I mean, if the wrestlers want to break those contracts by leaving early, I guess that's one way of dealing with that. For the record, I would genuinely rather WWE be a healthier and happier workforce. Genuinely, I would. But you have to believe that that's part of a conversation there. But you have to believe it's part of a conversation. So, you know what? If it leads to one person getting to explore life away from WWE, like they seemingly want to do, if it leads to one person getting involved in a much bigger, more fulfilling storyline, and if it leads to the company maybe looking at a closer scope how they run their business, maybe it was the right thing that they walked. Maybe this is a bigger event than we maybe think it is. Maybe this will lead to something even bigger down the line. Maybe. What do you think? You know, was it right for Boss and Glow to cut their loss and go? Let us know in the comments down below. Stay safe. Love you, bye.